The judge cleared her throat and read the order out loud. The property located at 2247 Hillcrest Drive is awarded to the respondent. Custody is hereby revoked. Visitation shall be supervised only pending psychological evaluation. I stood there, numb, watching my ex-spouse smirk across the courtroom aisle. The mansion I grew up in, the home my father left me, gone. My children wouldn't even look at me. How do you lose something that was never theirs to take? That morning, I walked out of that courtroom with nothing. No house, no kids, just a stack of court papers that felt like a death sentence. But here's what no one knew. I had proof buried in my late father's office. Documents that would flip everything. I just didn't know it yet. Stick with me, because wherever you're watching from, you'll want to see how this ends. Hit like if you've ever been underestimated, because that gavel was about to fall a second time. And this time I'd be holding the receipts. Let me take you back 10 years. My father passed away when I was 28. He was an estate attorney, meticulous, obsessive even. He left me the mansion on Hillcrest Drive. $3.5 million, sitting on 2 acres in the hills. It wasn't just property. It was my childhood. Every room had a memory. The inheritance came through a trust, ironclad, separate property. My lawyer at the time said it was bulletproof. I met my ex a year later at a charity gala. Charming, successful. We got married fast. Maybe too fast. For a while, it felt like a real partnership. But small things started to shift. My ex wanted joint bank accounts. Started questioning my decisions. Isolated me from old friends. You're too controlling, they'd say. You don't trust me. I trusted my father more. He drilled one rule into me. Paper beats memory. Always. So I kept everything. Bank statements, emails, renovation receipts. I had a filing cabinet in the estate office, locked and untouched since Dad died. I never thought I'd need those files to prove I wasn't a monster. But when my ex filed for divorce and demanded the house, I knew the fight was coming. And when they went for my kids, I knew it was war. I just didn't know how dirty they'd fight. The divorce conversation started at the kitchen table. I want the house, my ex said. Calm, matter of fact. I laughed. I actually laughed. This house is mine. I inherited it before we even met. Doesn't matter. California is community property. I'm entitled to half. That's not how trusts work. My ex leaned back, arms crossed. Then we'll let a judge decide. But honestly, I don't think you're fit to raise the kids alone. That line landed like a punch. What are you talking about? You're controlling. Emotionally unstable. The kids have noticed. I stared. They're 9 and 12. They haven't noticed anything. Sign over the deed. Accept supervised visitation. Or we go to trial and you lose everything. I had 72 hours to respond. I called my attorney. She was overworked, skeptical. Do you have the original trust documents? She asked. Somewhere. I think they're in my father's old files. Find them. Because without the original, a judge might treat the house as marital property. 2 weeks later, my ex's lawyer filed a motion. It wasn't just about the house anymore. They claimed I was volatile, dangerous. They had witness statements. A therapist's report, even journal entries, supposedly written by my ex, documenting years of emotional abuse. All lies, but very well documented lies. Trial started on a Monday in March. Day 1 was brutal. My ex's legal team was polished, practiced. They had charts, timelines, testimony from neighbors I barely knew. My own lawyer scrambled to find the original trust deed. She had a photocopy, but the judge wasn't impressed. Without the recorded original, I can't verify this predates the marriage, the judge said. Day 2 was worse. My kids took the stand, guided by a court-appointed advocate. They said I yelled, that I made them feel unsafe. Words I knew came from coaching. My 12-year-old wouldn't look at me. By day 3, I could see it coming. The judge ruled from the bench. The property at 2247 Hillcrest Drive is awarded to the respondent. Custody is revoked pending a psychological evaluation. Visitation is limited to supervised sessions every other Sunday, 2 hours maximum. I watched my ex stand up and smile. Not gloat, just smile. That night, I sat in a motel room. Kids' photos on the nightstand. An eviction notice in my hand. I thought it was over. Then I remembered the storage unit. After Dad's funeral, I'd moved his desk and boxes to climate-controlled storage. I kept meaning to sort through it. I never did. If the trust deed wasn't in the house, maybe it was there. I drove to the storage unit at 6 in the morning. Fluorescent lights, cold concrete, rows of identical orange doors. I unlocked number 117 and pulled the door up. Dust everywhere. boxes stacked 4 high, most labeled in my father's blocky handwriting. I found the one marked Estate-Final in the back corner. The tape was old, brittle. It cracked when I peeled it off. Inside were folders, deeds, contracts, correspondence, and there, in a plastic sleeve, was the original trust document. Embossed county seal. My father's signature. Date stamped clear as day, 3 years before I even met my ex. The language was simple. The property located at 2247 Hillcrest Drive is conveyed to the irrevocable trust for the sole benefit of the named beneficiary. No marital interest shall attach. I took photos of every page. My hands were shaking so hard I had to brace the phone against a box. This was it. Proof the house was mine. Always had been. But I knew it wasn't enough. The house was half the battle. I still had to get my kids back, and for that, I needed to prove why my ex wanted the house so badly in the first place. So I kept digging. I filed an emergency motion the next morning. My new attorney was cautiously optimistic. This changes the property case, she said. But custody is separate. We need more. My ex didn't take it well. 2 days later, I got an email. Subject line, last warning. You're making this harder on them. Drop it or I'll file a restraining order. The kids don't want to see you anyway. Then my ex went public. A statement went out to the parent association at my kids' school. It called me manipulative, said I was using money to bully my way back into their lives. The school sent a note. I was no longer allowed on campus. Supervised visitation was handled by my ex's cousin. After the second visit, she filed a report with the court. It claimed I pressured my kids, that I asked them to lie. I didn't, I never would. But the report went into the file anyway. My attorney called with the bad news. The permanent custody hearing is in 30 days. If we don't show misconduct or alienation on their side, the supervised order becomes permanent. 30 days. I went back to the storage unit. If Dad kept the trust deed, what else did he keep? The answer was in a folder labeled Correspondence. And what I found made everything click into place. The folder was thick. Printed emails, letters, all between my ex and their sibling. I started reading on my phone, sitting on the storage unit floor. The first email was dated 2 years before the divorce filing. Once the house is in my name, the kids will forget about them. Just keep the journal updated. My stomach dropped. I kept scrolling. Another one. The house alone is worth the wait. They won't see it coming. There were dozens. A plan, step by step. Marry me. Document fake incidents. File for divorce. Take the estate. Then I found the journal drafts. The same evidence my ex's lawyer had submitted to the court. Except this version had edits. Notes in red ink. Add more emotion here. Make this sound dangerous. Use the kids' names for credibility. It was all fabricated. Every word. I photographed everything. Then I called a forensic document examiner my attorney recommended. She confirmed it in 48 hours. The journals submitted to court matched the draft. Same paper, same pen, same handwriting. My ex hadn't just lied. They'd committed fraud on the court. And now I had proof. I needed to understand why. Why go to this much trouble? Why risk everything? The answer came from a public records search. My ex's sibling had co-signed a business loan, $480,000. The collateral was due in 6 months. Right around the time the divorce was filed, the loan was in default. If they didn't pay, the sibling would lose their business. Their house, everything. My mansion was worth $3.5 million. Even after a split, it would clear the debt and leave plenty over. This was never about the kids' stability. It was never about me being a bad parent. It was about turning my inheritance into their bailout. The children were just leverage. I sat with that for a long time. Not angry, just clear. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to humiliate anyone. I wanted my kids to know the truth. And I wanted my home back. So I made a plan. A clean one. I hired a family law firm that specialized in parental alienation. I brought in a real estate attorney to file a quiet title action. And I submitted every document to the court, not as an attack, as evidence. Now I knew exactly what to do. I filed 2 motions at once. The first was to vacate the property judgment based on the trust deed. The second was an emergency request for a new custody evaluation, submitting the emails and fabricated journal as exhibits. I also filed a quiet title action to freeze any sale of the mansion while the case was pending. My ex couldn't touch the property, couldn't move it, couldn't borrow against it. The hearing was set for 10 days out. Same judge who'd ruled against me the first time. My attorney warned me. Judges don't like being deceived. But they also don't like reversing themselves. This could go either way. I understood the risk. But I wasn't going in to argue. I was going in to let the paper do the talking. I didn't sleep much that week. I prepped. I reviewed every document. I made sure every exhibit was labeled, indexed, clean. On the Tuesday morning of the hearing, I got to the courthouse early. My ex arrived 20 minutes later, confident. Their lawyer was smiling. They had no idea what was coming. The bailiff called the case at 9 a.m. We walked into the courtroom, and I set the receipts on the table. My attorney stood and addressed the judge. Your Honor, we're here on an emergency motion to set aside the previous judgment. New evidence has come to light. She handed the clerk a binder. The judge opened it. First exhibit. The original trust deed. The judge leaned forward, reading. Her expression shifted. Counselor, why wasn't this presented at trial? My attorney replied calmly. It was believed lost, Your Honor. The original has now been located and authenticated. The judge looked at my ex's lawyer. Any objection to authenticity? He hesitated. We'd need time to review. The county seal is visible. The recording date is clear. I'll allow it. Second exhibit. The email thread. My attorney projected it on the courtroom screen. The subject line filled the wall. Once the house is in my name. The room went silent. The judge read each email. Her jaw tightened. Counsel, did your client provide discovery of these communications? My ex's lawyer stammered. Your Honor, I was not aware. That wasn't the question. Third exhibit. The fabricated journal. Side by side. The draft with edits. The version submitted to the court. Identical. The judge set down her pen. I'm calling the respondent to the stand. My ex stood. I watched the confidence drain from their face. Under oath, the questions came fast. Did you write these emails? Yes. Did you create multiple drafts of this journal? Silence. Answer the question. Yes. Did you submit falsified evidence to this court? Yeah, I was just trying to protect. Yes or no? Yes. The judge took a breath. Then she spoke. The judgment dated March 14th is vacated in its entirety. Title to the property at 2247 Hillcrest Drive is restored to the petitioner as separate property. The custody order is suspended. I am ordering an independent forensic evaluation, and I am sanctioning the respondent $75,000 for fraud upon this court. I am also referring this matter to the state bar. The gavel fell. My kids were sitting in the back of the courtroom with the guardian ad litem. My oldest looked at me, mouthed 2 words. I'm sorry, I nodded. It was enough. My ex moved out within a week. The siblings' business filed for bankruptcy 2 months later. I didn't pursue further damages. I didn't need to. The fraud was on the record. That was enough. The custody evaluation took 3 months. It wasn't easy. My kids had been coached for years. They believed things about me that weren't true. But the psychologist was thorough, patient. In the end, the report recommended joint custody with a reunification plan. My ex's time was supervised for 6 months. The kids started therapy for parental alienation. It's been a year now. My 12-year-old, 13 now, asked to move back into their old room last month. We painted it together. They picked the color. My youngest still has hard days, but they're talking to me again. Really talking. The mansion feels like home again. I converted my father's estate office into a family archive room. The original trust deed is framed on the wall, right next to a photo of my dad. I also started something new, a small foundation that offers free document scanning and organization services for families navigating estate disputes. I've helped 23 people so far. Some of them were in worse situations than I was. Every time I hand someone a binder of their scanned files, I tell them what my father told me. Paper beats memory, always. My ex's attorney was suspended for 30 days. I didn't press civil charges. I wanted peace, not a war. The kids wrote me letters as part of their therapy. I keep them in a drawer. I don't need to read them every day, but I know they're there. Here's what I learned. Your truth is only as strong as your proof. Keep the receipts. Protect what's yours, and never let someone else write your story. Silence isn't strength. Boundaries are. So let me ask you, have you ever had to fight for something that was rightfully yours? What would you have done in my shoes? Fought or walked away? Drop your story in the comments. I read everyone, and if this resonated, subscribe. You never know when you'll need to remember that paper beats memory. Always. One last thing. This story is a fictionalized dramatization. It is not legal or financial advice. If you're facing a custody or estate dispute, consult a licensed professional in your area. but keep your receipts. That part is universal. Thanks for watching.